The following video is the result of an experiment I've been doing on myself that follows two paths. And I'll explain those two paths more in the video. The reason for this, and sort of the break in the videos that I've been producing, one, because there's only so much I can produce on this subject, but two, I wanted to try some things and see if I could make improvements. Prior to this, I had made significant improvements in the amount of PVCs I was having and the intensity through a certain process, which was multivitamins and vitamin D, a specific multivitamin, which we'll get into more in the video here. But what I found is I was able to figure out what worked best for me to get my PVC to the point that they are, well, we'll find out in the video how it went. But for me, it was good news. I hope it's good news for you. But I want you to remember, this is what works for me, and I'm not recommending this for anybody. Right? Talk to your doctor, follow your doctor's advice. You know, the usual disclaimer and the caveat, so on and so forth. But I hope you find what I'm sharing interesting and starts a process where you take advantage of some of the things I share and learn more about what works for you and what's best for you. So with that, let's just get into the video. All right, so let's just jump in the video here and just kind of get started. As you can see by the title of the slide up there, and I told you in the opening video, I followed two paths here. There was two ideas, concepts that I went with for this kind of experiment. Diet and mental health. We're often told, you know, get over it, move on, don't worry about it. It's not going to kill you. Just, it doesn't work. That's horse apples. And that's just disingenuous, in my opinion. So I'm hoping this slide works. So let's just go ahead and let's move on to the next slide. First, the disclaimer, as I mentioned in the opening video, the following is my experiences and what I have done to improve my PVCs. I'm not recommending that you do anything I have done. And as always, please consult a physician, and please do not trust influencers. Looking around, checking on stuff, people say, well, you're an influencer, you do YouTube videos, and fair enough, but don't trust me. Don't trust anybody. Do your own research, do your own reading, do your own things, and learn for yourself. Other people may have things that work for them, may not work for you, and some people have agendas. I have an agenda. I'll be right up front with it. My agenda is to get rid of my PVCs, and I'm just going to share that with you. So, for what it's worth, I'm going to encourage you to always read and learn things for yourself. Don't trust anybody when it comes to this stuff, especially snake oil salesmen that tell you one pill is going to fix everything. My experience, it doesn't work. It's too reductive, and we'll get into reductive later. So let's move on. So history and where I've been. Where I've been is doing this and just living life, right? I have a full-time job. I've got a family. I make these videos just to help people and share my stories. I'm not trying to change the world necessarily. Just bring a little awareness. So when I reached a point of not having enough material to kind of keep making videos on me, you know, it just didn't seem worth it. So I haven't made any. And then I started with this idea. I started reading. So that's kind of where I've been and what I've been doing. How I coped through that period prior to that was, again, the vegan vitality, multivitamins and vitamin D, and the vegan diet made the biggest differences for me. And there's I think there's a short that shows you the vitamins and the vitamin D that I was taking out there, and you can go through some of the old videos and just peruse those. So for me, when it started, I was in my early 20s when I started getting PVCs. Now, they weren't horrible. I had one or two and then went in and got them checked. They said, don't worry about them, move on. And I kind of did because I was young and dumb. But they kept flaring, and I would manage them or just shut down for a while. And then I took an antibiotic, and it destroyed my gut biome. And that's when I was having over 20,000 PVCs. Tried to get an ablation. That failed. Flecainide, very powerful cardiac drug. I took that and it helped. I took that for a year and then got off of it, and things were going pretty well. So I've been on everything, all the meds you can imagine for heart stuff and blood pressure that they use for these things. I've been on Holter monitors. I've had, I went to the cardiac department and had a cath to check everything out. Got a false positive on damage to my heart. Turned out it was just nothing. So, and I have no signs of heart disease. I've seen the pictures. I've learned to kind of read and understand an EKG a bit, and the results from my heart catheterization. So I've had everything but the ablation. Just a little bit of history. And then it got worse with the antibiotic. All right. So those are the interventions. That's my history. And some worked, some didn't. What didn't work was being told to get over it. That just never worked. It never worked. Fluconide work. I never wanted to take it again because it's a very powerful drug. I've tried all of the beta blockers, C-channel blockers, all those things like that. Drops my blood pressure way too low. As a matter of fact, I took a beta blocker once and just a normal dose and was unable to breathe. I could barely move. I couldn't even sit at my desk in a normal dose. So I have very, very intense adverse effects to medications. So this time around, after finding the Vegan Vitality multivitamins and raising my vitamin D and becoming a vegan, I thought, wow, they're pretty significant changes for me. Things were going really well, but I'd still have some breakthrough. So I thought, can I do more? Can I go more? Let's find out. So there's kind of the list there going vegan. It's vegan health, vegan vitality. When I wrote that, I got it wrong. Vitamin D, and I drink a lot of water. Okay, so that's what had been working. So there's a slide for you. I started off vegetarian and then went junk food vegan, and then was junk food vegan for a while, which it's still better, I think, than the alternative. So that's what worked for me. So there's kind of the basics of what worked. I stumbled onto the Vegan Vitality multivitamins by accident, simply because a lot of vitamins aren't vegan. When I started becoming vegan and learning to read labels and understand the science on food production, I realized some of these things that I were using weren't vegan. And I'm still learning today. It's a continual learning process. I mean, when you find out they use bugs for wax and just weird stuff, you kind of think, well, I never knew that was in there, right? So the more I knew, I stumbled onto the Vegan Vitality, which is supposed to be 100% vegan. Saw a big improvement. And later it clicked why. Right? So there's kind of what had been working. So I thought, what if there was a better way? What if I didn't need to take... I'm averse to pills in general, but these are working. They're vegan. I was okay with that. But what if there was just a better way to make things that next level, where I didn't even have to worry about it, right? I didn't really have a lot of breakthrough. That I could just enjoy life, which is what we all want. So that's what it took. Research and reading. Now, as I went vegan, I started watching a lot of documentaries on food in general. And that led me to more of a vegan appreciation, a plant-based appreciation. Now, you can be whole food plant-based and not be vegan, I guess, but I am vegan. I'm whole food plant-based at this point. So it took a lot of reading. And I'll get into my list later. I think my list is in here later, right? So that's what it was. I've gone from a junk food vegan to a whole food plant-based fella. Yeah. And I eat a very specific diet, right? And my diet came from reading, researching, and studying what are the best foods that I could eat. What are the best foods I could eat without the industry influence? I want to know the science. I don't want to hear what McDonald's, Burger King, Tyson, meat manufacturers. I don't want to hear what any of these companies have to say, because they're all full of crap. All right, I'm just going to be honest with you. They're full of crap. They lie and they pay people off. It's just disgusting. So I didn't even want to hear from them. So I just wanted the research studies, and I want them to be repeatable and put to the test. Okay? That's important, right? Because just one study with a small group doesn't really mean a whole hell of a lot. But if you can repeat it, that's great, right? That's what we want. We want repeatable information, repeatable studies, repeatable data. So some of you are probably wondering, well, what the hell did you eat, man? Get on with it. Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what I eat, but I want to tell you the progression a little first. When I started this, keep in mind, things were well controlled. I was pretty happy with what was going on, but I had breakthrough. So when I started this, it didn't happen right away. It didn't just the first meal and everything's great, meat, you're fine. No, it didn't work that way. It took a little while for these foods to take effect. And I think maybe that's the reason a lot of folks back off of plans and diets like this, because they want that immediate result. So let me talk about the foods, and I'm not going to go into detail on these foods because there's so much that they do, but some of them I'm going to. Some of them, are like for anti-inflammatory. Some help with heart rate function, which I think is key here. So I'm not going to get all the details, but I'm going to give you a website that you can go look and research this stuff yourself, because I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to figure this stuff out, right? No fads. Fads diets are garbage. Diet books are garbage for the most part. And, the ones where they got the quick fixes and overnight success, or, let's just be blunt, that meat's okay to eat. It's not. It's not healthy to eat. It's just not. Neither is dairy. So this is what I eat. Ready for this? I eat assortment of foods. Strawberries, blueberries, bananas, raisins, chia seed, flax seeds, ground, wheat germ, and walnuts. Notice the little apostrophe, or not the apostrophe, but the parentheses I have there, the atrial improvement. One of the things that I learned in a study was that 2 hours after eating just a little, like the palm of your hand, amount of walnuts, sees an improvement in atrial function. Now, we're preventral, right? But I thought if that helps atrial production, it's got to help, right? So I added that. Now, you may be saying to yourself, how the hell do I eat all this crap? I tell you what I do. All this goes into a bowl. I put my strawberries in there, my blueberries, my bananas and raisins. That's the base. I put the chia seed, which is fiber and protein, the flax seeds. Flax seeds do a lot, and I use it ground. You want to make sure it's ground. Flax do a lot for I believe it's anti-inflammatory, but just for overall health. So does wheat germ, and I've already explained walnuts. So this is what I stuck to. This was every morning. This was the foods that I ate. Now, I know some of you are going to say, I'm not eating that shit. I don't want to eat it. I want to eat whatever I want. Then this isn't for you. You might as well bail now. This isn't for you. This is what I did. This is the first part of the foods that I ate right here. Now I'm going to get into the second part of what I ate, and then I'll tell you what the improvement I saw. So there's that. Broccoli, spinach, and tofu. Unbeknownst to me, I hate broccoli. Little kid, I hated broccoli. I didn't eat my spinach. Popeye was wrong. It didn't make you big and strong. And I had no use for tofu. I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up around farms, meat production. I grew up that way my whole life. Steak, potatoes, man. Pork, chicken, the whole 9 yards. Ate it all. So that's how I grew up. But I ate vegetables too. Growing up. Mom always made sure we had vegetables. So I wanted to know, and I found this one by incident. Broccoli is an amazing food. Is it a superfood? I hate that term. We're not going to use it. Broccoli is amazing. It can do a lot of things. One of the studies that I read, which was something important to me in the profession that I'm in, the populations I work with. Broccoli's actually been shown in some studies, and I'm not throwing studies out there. I'm going to give you the site. I don't think I made a slide, but I'll give you the site. It showed some improvement in regulation and function and folks with not Alzheimer's, autism. Sorry, haven't had my broccoli today. So that is a key food. So spinach, those leafy greens, and tofu became my delivery system. I know people have problems with soy; they think soy is bad. It's not. I'm not gonna feed you the same line of crap that just floats around from YouTubers and all these people calling people soy boy and all this shit. I want you to look this up for yourself, and I'm gonna give you a site that has the documentation for this stuff. You can read it and for yourself. There's a lot of benefits to soybeans, soy in various forms. I choose tofu and I choose soy milk. I've learned to like it. Because tofu is just a delivery system to me. There's protein in it, there's some fats, and then you get the benefit of the soy. One of the things I will tell you, my own personal experience, when I started eating a lot of broccoli, I eat about a cup a day. I cut it, let it sit for 4 or 5 minutes, and that's going to kind of give you that anti-cancer benefit to it that I've read about. So I do that, but something I noticed, it was about 2 or 3 weeks in eating consistent broccoli, is my recall. I just had that moment where I couldn't remember autism. My recall got better. I was beginning to have problems with memory. I couldn't remember names. I struggled with it very much. When I started broccoli, that went away. Now that's just my own personal anecdotal story. That improved my brain function. And Dr. Dean Ornish did a small study, and more study needs to be done, of improvements with Alzheimer's and the whole food plant-based diet. And I think broccoli was included in that diet. I'm not sure. You'll have to check on that. So I did see a benefit with this to broccoli. What is my overall benefit from these foods? I feel like I should get like an endorsement for vegan vitality. But being consistent with these foods has made an improvement. I got one more section to show you and then I'll tell you about it. I'm not trying to do a cliffhanger. I just want to make sure I get it all in. I also use this. Turmeric is a proven anti-inflammatory. I take turmeric every day. It's helped with my back pain. Do the research. Don't trust me. Please don't trust me. Just do your own research. It's helped with my back pain. I use all those spices. Nutritional yeast. One of the things for whole food plant-based folks is we don't get any vitamin B. B12. Let me be specific. I didn't put it in the slide, but it's B12. So we have to get that from other sources. We don't lick the dirt. It comes from the dirt. And there's going to be somebody out there that says, well, you have to eat meat to get it. Well, they get it through supplementation. So we need to supplement. So if you're taking a multivitamin and you eat all this other stuff, you're still supplementing. Do I take a vitamin B12 tablet? I do. I take one every day. But because I use nutritional yeast, which is loaded with that stuff, I don't need to worry about it too much. But it tastes like cheese. So I use all those spices. Excuse me. This is what I eat 90% of the time. Now the results. I've already told you what the result was I got from the broccoli and the brain function. And probably a combination of all these things together has improved that as well. My PVCs are almost non-existent. So from starting Vegan Vitality, vitamin D was great. But this, I've had one PVC today. And it was just real faint. And some days I don't have them at all. And the only thing I've changed is my diet. I've gone even further into the veganism and the whole food plant-based. So I've seen significant changes in brain function, and my PVCs are almost non-existent. I'm not afraid to travel anymore. I'm not afraid to go on a long trip. I get on the elliptical and the treadmill, and I get on there for 15, 20 minutes, jack up the level, the intensity, and just go. I don't worry about it. I don't think I'm going to die anymore. Yeah. So this, now Vegan Vitality, vitamin D, is still hung around. You're going to die. You can't do things. Now, it rarely enters my mind. I rarely have PVCs. I don't have SVT anymore. I don't have atrial runs anymore. My opinion, anecdotally just means we're just going on what people talk about. There's no real hard studies done by me. This has almost completely eliminated my PVCs, atrial runs, and SVT. And it was as simple as eating clean. It was as simple as eating those things. Strawberries, blueberries, bananas, raisins, chia seeds, flaxseed, wheat germ, walnuts, broccoli, spinach, tofu. I feel good. I don't have PVCs really anymore. The last time I had a halter, it said I had a 1% burden. And now probably going to have another just checkup here this year. And if I had to guess, my burden is probably less than 2%, 0.2% maybe. I just don't have PVCs anymore. I don't have racing heart anymore. And I attribute it, in my opinion, to this diet. And I do like pasta. Okay? But when I make it, I use fresh onion. I use fresh tomato. I use fresh garlic. I use fresh mushroom. And I cook that myself. I cook at home. I mean, we, once in a blue moon, maybe once every month or every 2 months, we may go out and have, vegan food that we can get out. Usually it's from a place here that serves Thai food that it's vegan, just vegetables, tofu, things like that. But I cook. I cook on my stove. I make these things. This is usually my first meal of the day. Sometimes I eat at 10 o'clock. Sometimes I'll eat at 12 o'clock. Or later, depending on the day. But when I eat this, I'm full. I don't want to eat anymore. It's very filling. And I just feel better. I just feel better all. I don't want to use the word cure my PVCs because I haven't. There's another component of this that does come into play, but I think this is the biggest. This is the lion's share here. It's probably 90%, 10%. It'll vary from each person. So those are the keys right there. I also do some cardio and some weight training, as I talking about the treadmill and stuff like that. But I've done that in the past. That's never really helped. But I still do it because your heart needs to be healthy. You still need to move to keep the heart and your vessels and your brain function. I think there was also a study done recently, and you'll have to look these up. I'm not putting stuff out. You don't trust me. I don't want you to. Go look it up. 40 minutes of a brisk walk 3 times a week will help with dementia and Alzheimer's. So do your own research. Go look stuff up. I'll give you the site here in a little bit. So let's move on. This one was interesting. This is a finding for me. If I was borderline type 2, I'm no longer borderline anymore. Starting the whole food plant-based, I'm not type 2 diabetic. I'm not borderline type 2 diabetic. I'm fine. But I would notice when I used to get high blood sugars, the heart rate goes up, and I'd get PVCs. So I do think there is a connection between sugars and PVCs and heart stuff. And there's some other things too that go with that, but that's just my thoughts on it. If you're eating sugar, I'm not eating sugar. And if you're vegan, sugar becomes a problem because most of the time to make sugar white, that white granular sugar, they use bone char to make that white. Because sugar is actually, when you get the organic sugar, unprocessed sugar, it's kind of a brown color. But to make it white, they use bones of dead animals. That's disgusting. Who knew? So keep that in mind. There are a lot of ways to check your blood sugar. So if you're having a lot of PVCs, you know me, I was checking it. High blood sugar, we'll get you some PVCs. If you have them. I don't know about people without them. I don't know. All right. So this is, now we're going to move into the second part of this, which is mental health. Now, these are the things that caused PVCs in the past for me. It's gotten better on the diet. It has, because I don't really have them anymore. But I've also worked on controlling my stress. These things: stress, worry, holding it in, not addressing mental health issues. So, I'm a big burly guy. I see a therapist. I am a therapist. It's important to address these things, because when you are worried, when you have stress, anxiety, you're angry, all these wonderful things, it activates your sympathetic nervous system. And that's fight or flight. So things have to change to do that. And we activate from the neck down, our viscera. Our heart rate's got to go up. We got to move more blood to the lungs, the muscle tissue in the legs, the arms, stuff like that. We get, the stress hormones are released, and that creates anxiety, worry, stress, all these things. So I'm going to suggest that you think about, if you have a lot of PVCs and you do worry a lot and you are under a lot of stress, maybe seeking out a mental health professional and talking to them and saying, hey, this is kind of what I got. How can you help me? Give me some coping skills here. Help me process some of this stuff from the past that may be chewing on you for a while. Okay? So I think this is a good idea. I'd get more into this, but this is kind of my profession, and I kind of want to steer clear of any conflicts here. But I'm just going to say I think it's a good idea. That's what I did. I work with a therapist on specific issues, and it's been helpful. So diet and mental health. I do believe that stress can cause PVCs, given the way it activates the sympathetic nervous system, and those systems no longer function at homeostasis. They're in a state of activation all the time, so that's going to cause problems. This was my reading list. I started with the China study. Here, hold on a second here and see if I can show you what these books look like. I was going to post all the pictures and stuff, but I said no. This is the China study. This is T. Colin Campbell and his son. This is where it started for me. As I flip through this book that I suddenly read. This is the one I definitely read first. I think this for me started it all, and some documentaries. This is a great book. I can't recommend this one highly enough. Where am I going to set all this crap? And then How Not to Age. Now this guy is the guy that I think I really have come to respect a bit. And this is the book, is How Not to Age. I read this one too. It gives a lot of information on aging and how diet plays into that, how meat, dairy, processed foods and stuff like that. So that's a pretty significant book. Now we're going to go more to the mental health side. I don't have the book with me. The Body Keeps a Score by Dr. Vessel van der Kolk. If you have any kind of trauma with PVCs, I recommend that book. And When the Body Says No, and that's this one here. This is by Gabor Mate. You can see his picture on the back there. Oops. It's not going to focus in. There it goes, Dr. Gabor Mate. What he discusses is kind of that connection between... Why is my camera not focusing? Let's go. Let's fix it. There we go. The connection between stress, anxiety, and trauma and disease. Are there links between certain personality types and multiple sclerosis? Is there certain personality types and cancers? Read the book. He draws some pretty significant connections. It kind of goes counter to what we all think, that it's genetic. And I'm not going to get into that, but a few things in my esteemed opinion are genetic. This one, How Not to Diet. This is Dr. Grieger. I want to say Greger, but it's Grieger. I want to say it all the time. But it's Dr. Grieger, How Not to Diet. This one's really going to give you a lot of information on the food industry and how much we've all just paid the price for that. What a delightful, wonderful organization. This is The Myth of Normal by Dr. Gabor Mate. Read this one too. If you have stress, anxiety, trauma with PVCs, I think this one can be helpful. What's the bottom one here? Oh, let's do this one here. Reversing Diabetes. This is Dr. Barnard. I say it wrong too. Great book. If you find yourself struggling with blood sugars and the potential to be type 2 diabetic, or if you're type 2 diabetic. I was on it briefly. It's the typical diabetic drug you get before they do the like the Ozempic and stuff, and it just didn't do anything. You know, my blood sugars really weren't. They were just kind of borderline, and it didn't help. But this one is very scientific. The polyvagal theory. This is Dr. Stephen Porges. I've done a lot of lectures with him. You know, I've taken a lot of his lectures, and Gabor Mate and Dr. Van der Kolk. I've taken a lot of seminars and stuff with them, and so they're great things to read. Great things to read. That's more the mental health side. The China study is really going to give you the history of food and how Dr. Campbell figured out how the protein in milk was causing cancer. How you could turn it off and on in rats and so on and so forth. Excuse me. So those are the books I recommend. The site is nutritionfacts.org. I'll try to put that in the links below, because Dr. Greer goes through the science, and he makes great videos and helps you understand the science without all the bullshit. Because if you get your facts from organizations that sell food, they're going to lie to you, so you buy food. If you get your facts from people that sell pills, they're going to lie to you to sell you the pill. Right? It's the old snake oil salesman routine, right? Well, our stuff's the greatest. It's going to cure everything, blah, blah, blah. Malarkey. Anyway, so documentaries. How come we're not doing documentaries? There we go. These are some documentaries that I've kind of watched. Game Changers is on Netflix. What the hell? Those are on Netflix. You Are What You Eat's on Netflix. Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. That one's kind of an interesting one. I really like that one. And then Plant Pure Nation and Forks Over Knives, and there's a bunch of other ones out there. But those are the ones I recommend to help understand this phenomenon, to help understand the benefits of this type of eating, this plant-based whole foods type of eating, versus eating junk food and meat and dairy and eggs and fish and all that stuff. So I think that's my last slide. So here we are at the end. This is pretty much it. And again, I want to share. I've taken my PVCs from controlled, which is what I would call it. I'm looking at myself on the screen here, but controlled. And I've taken it down to where it's almost non-existent. Right? And I really, really believe most of that's food. The foods I've listed. There are many other foods out there that can help. These are the ones I landed on that I feel the best about. It's nutritionfacts.org. Let me see if I can get that up on the screen in some fashion. Let's see. Let's see if that'll pull up. Let me see if I can pull this up. Ooh, this might work. Hold on. There it is. So now I'm going to create this. I'm going to create a window capture. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do that, and then do OK. So can you read all that okay? Is that? No. Let me pull that up over here. And I'm going to go ahead and just make that bigger. Let's make that bigger. How are we going to do that? Well, do Control B. I hope you can read that. I really do. Beep, deep, deep. But anyway, I'll put it in the show notes. It's nutritionfacts.org with Dr. Grieger. Now, the thing I want to say about Dr. Grieger real quick, which is the guy here, How Not to Age, How Not to Diet. I didn't put How Not to Diet in there. He's non-for-profit. Not-for-profit. He takes the books I just showed you, he takes no money for that. He takes no money for the work he does. So it's more of wanting to help. And I encourage you to read his story. So he doesn't make money off of that. Which is why I kind of lean towards trusting him more than others, simply because he doesn't make a buck off of it. The proceeds from those books, he gets nothing from it. So nutritionfacts.org, take a look at that. And again, I just want to reiterate, I've gone from controlled to almost non-existent. And being able to get out there. I travel. I went to New York in the middle of winter and drove in a snowstorm, lake effect snow. I didn't have any PVCs. Usually would, but I didn't. And then turned around and drove all night back to the city we were flying out of, another 3 hours, and didn't have any. So I consider myself beyond not controlled, but non-existent. I have one here and there. So that's where I've been. That's what I've been doing. I've been trying to, make myself bigger. I've been trying to figure this out for myself. I hope I can instill in you maybe the desire to go look this stuff up. Don't just follow my meal plan. Do some research. Go to nutritionfacts.org and read, but don't read fad books. These aren't fad books, especially the polyvagal. That's science. It's hard science. So take some time and kind of look things up. Learn some things about what this stuff's all about and what the whole food plant-based diet can do for your PVCs. Again, I can't say enough about what it's done for me. It took a little time to see the results. Fair enough. Took a little time to see the results. But here I sit. I travel. I don't worry about it. I don't really have PVCs. I'm enjoying life more, even with stress. The job I have sometimes can be stressful. So that's all I got to really say, and that's my update. I'm going to move me around here a little bit. And so that's it. I hope you found this helpful. Please pause on the stuff, and I'll put the nutritionfacts.org link in the notes for you to check out. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find it beneficial. Don't trust me. Look it up. Talk to your doctor if you need to. I'm going to be honest with you. I've had one doctor tell me that, oh, good job, plant-based. I'm trying to get there myself. Doctors will be dismissive. They don't have a lot of education when it comes to nutrition. But read the books. Learn the science. Trust that over people. Don't trust me? That's it. I'm feeling good. I can travel. I can move about the country and do things I wouldn't normally do now because I have almost non-existent PVCs. Well, what comes next? I don't know. Depends on how the video does and the comments. Maybe I'll address some of the comments and answer some questions. Maybe ask some questions, if people want to try it. So with that, I'm going to bid you a fin de die, and hopefully I will see you next time.